So welcome to the second installment of the gear lesson. In the first installment, as we said, we discussed about cameras, the different camera options, right? Smartphone cameras. We talked about battery, storage, and then we moved to analyze lights. We talked about softbox lights, we talked about ring lights, we talked about background lights. So in this lesson right here, in the second installment of the gear lesson, because gear is very important when we create content, obviously the tools that we use are of key importance when it comes to the quality of our output. So now we're going to analyze different accessories when it comes to shooting outdoors, shooting action content, and spoiler alert, this is going to be centered around stabilization of your footage, because stable footage is very, very important in videography in general, not only in content creation. In addition to that, we are also going to be analyzing different gear that you will need when it comes to editing of videos. So if you're not going to outsource the editing, which means to pay someone to edit the videos for you, you're going to edit your videos yourself. So we're going to also analyze the different gear pieces you will need in order to be able, to edit your content by yourself. So without any further ado, this is again the lesson outline, and let's move into the action gear that you will need. So outdoor shooting accessories, considering that you will use your phone as a camera, because as we said, when we're starting with content creation, it is better to just use our phone due to the fact that our phones have amazing processors and can create amazing video and image quality. These are the three different types of gear that you will need when you're shooting outdoors. And outdoor shooting can be very helpful in, again, increasing audience engagement on the videos and audience retention, because outdoors always change, and this stimulates the brain of our viewers to just keep watching the videos. So I totally suggest shooting outdoors, and while shooting outdoors, we have those three categories of accessories. First of all, we have durable cases for our smartphones, then we got gimbals, and then we got tripods. So let's go ahead and analyze each and every one of those accessories. We're going to start with durable cases. Now, those are pretty much protective cases of our phones, right? If we're shooting outdoors, we pretty much don't want our phones to be exposed, especially if we're content creators and we rely on those phones to get our job done. This is why you can buy those three types of cases, okay? Waterproof cases, but make sure to buy waterproof cases that don't actually distort the image, so we don't want to have anything in front of our lens, so we want to have as clear video as possible. Then, you can have those cases which you can just have in the back of your fingers so they stay in place. And finally, cases that are protective and come with lenses that can screw on your phone. These are also very, very helpful. If I were you and I would like to have, a one-in-all package, I would just buy a durable case that has an attachment with lenses. It is very important if we're shooting with our phones to have the ability to switch lenses. This is, a pro that usually DSLR and mirrorless cameras have. So if we can switch lenses while shooting with our phones and deliver a wider variety of different shots, this is very, very helpful. So when it comes to this slide, if you want to invest on a case and you don't have a case already, invest on a case in which you can screw a lens on top. This will make your footage look very, very interesting. Now, moving on, let's talk about stabilization and keeping your clips stable, especially if you're not shooting an action sequence, is going to be very, very, very important. Now, when we're shooting outdoors, this means that usually our cameras are not going to stay still. Like, for example, I have my camera right now on a tripod because I'm shooting indoors. When we're shooting outdoors, usually the camera moves with us, and we want to diminish any minor shakes. If we're using our phones as cameras, we diminish those minor shakes usually with a smartphone gimbal. Now let's analyze the pros and the cons of smartphone gimbals. The pros is that gimbals in general create flawless footage. It is very stabilized, it is amazing, smooth, it is anything that anyone would ever ask for a gimbal to do. It is just very smooth, flawless footage of outdoors. We have no shakes whatsoever, and usually many gimbals, due to the fact that they plug with your phone, they increase the battery life of your phone. So this is also absolutely amazing because we don't have to stress about battery. As we said, we only have to stress about storage afterwards, because when we're shooting with our phones, the three things that we need to consider and keep always in mind is image quality, battery, and storage. And if we sort battery with a gimbal, this is absolutely amazing. Now, when it comes to the cons, the phone, when we're shooting with a gimbal, is exposed. This means that, it's exposed to the outer elements. You can't have a case with a gimbal. Well, some gimbals allow you to have case, but most of the gimbals won't allow you to have a case on your phone. So this is a con. Obviously, if it rains outside, you can't shoot with a gimbal. In addition to that, gimbals are in general pretty hard to carry with you. You know, you need to have a separate case for the gimbal. Sometimes they're heavy, they interfere with your shooting, so it's not the easiest thing to always have a gimbal with you. And it is just one more thing to watch out in the shoot. And when you're shooting outdoors and you have 1 million different things on your mind, you don't want to have, you know, to take care of one more gimbal. So have these in mind, have the pros and cons in mind, and if you choose a niche in which you shoot outdoors and you tend, you know, to be very sporty and outdoorsy, then go ahead and just invest in a gimbal. It will make your life way easier, and also these don't tend to break, so they will last you for quite a long time. Now, the next thing is a tripod, and you know, regardless of if you're shooting indoors and outdoors, I think every content creator should obviously own a tripod. You know, they're very cheap, they're easy to use. Some tripods, you know, they're so cheap that they also come with accessories. So if you go to Amazon and buy a tripod, you know, you're gonna have it very, very cheap, and sometimes they come with accessories such as, you know, remote controllers that start and stop video and stuff like that. You need to buy a tripod, okay? If you're getting into the content creation thing, you need to buy a tripod. You don't need to buy a very expensive tripod when you're beginning. Just a very simple and normal smartphone tripod will get the job done. When it comes to the cons, in general, remember that tripods are hard to pack. They are a bit, you know, bigger in size, so you can't really travel that easily with tripods. I'm having a very hard time traveling with tripods, especially due to the fact that because, you know, I am more advanced in content creation, gear becomes heavier, tripods become bigger, so this is a problem while traveling. In addition to that, if you buy a very cheap tripod from Amazon, note that it's not going to be that durable, but again, if it's cheap, you can just buy a new one. The only thing is that we don't want to sacrifice our camera, so if you buy a very cheap tripod, then there is a question if the camera will, you know, stay up there or if it's just going to fall down. Obviously, tripods are associated with limited mobility, so you just can't run around with a tripod. You need to have your tripod stable in a certain position, and it is mostly for beginners. If you're not shooting interview style videos and you're outdoors, you don't want to use a tripod. You want to introduce motion to your videos so your videos become more and more engaged. So again, regardless of if you enjoy shooting indoors or shooting outdoors or the different type of niche that you're involved in, just invest on a tripod for your phone. This will make your life way, way easier than just, you know, stabilizing your phone on some books or stuff. So just buy a tripod. Now, then we got GorillaPods, and GorillaPods are a new area of gear. They're a relatively new category of gear pieces, and GorillaPods actually combine all of those features together. So they're tripods, they're stabilizers, they're great for vlogging, they're cheap, they're easy to store, versatile, and have a very small footprint. They do all of this greatly. Not perfectly, but greatly. So they stabilize your camera as a tripod greatly. It's not the best and perfect tripod, but they work greatly as tripods. They also stabilize clips fairly good, so they're not as good at stabilizers, but still they stabilize clips. They are amazing for vlogging, so if you like vlogging around with your phone, I would 100% suggest you to buy a GorillaPod. In general, if your niche is vlogging, absolutely go ahead and buy a GorillaPod. They're relatively cheap. This means that they're more expensive than tripods, but more cheap than glide cams and, you know, stabilizers. They're very easy to store because they're about this, their footprint is this size. They're not as big as tripods and certainly not as big as heavy as stabilizers. And they're very versatile. This means that you can, you know, strap a GorillaPod on a tree, strap a GorillaPod in pretty much any different scenario that you can imagine. They're very versatile, and this is why I also own a GorillaPod. I'm not even a vlogger, but I own a GorillaPod because I know that they are extremely versatile, and if I'm traveling somewhere and I don't want to bring, you know, my stabilizer or my tripod, I 100% bring of the times my GorillaPod. In addition to that, GorillaPods have mounts that you can mount your phone, but you can switch the mount and mount a camera. So if you invest in a GorillaPod, you can later use it also with your camera, just as you can with your tripod. So this is very, very encouraging. Now, this was the gear when it comes to action. Now let's move into the different gear pieces that you will need when it comes to editing. So, these right here are roughly the 3 categories of post-production accessories that you will need to successfully edit your videos in this content creation game. So, we have the operating system, the editing software, and external storage, which is going to be completely different with the external storage of our phones. Now, let's dive into each one of them. Starting with the operating system, you can either have a MacBook, which is personally my system of choice. It is timeless, very durable, and user-friendly. In general, MacBooks are timeless. You buy it once and you can keep it for more than 10 years. They are amazing in video editing, very user-friendly, timeless. They also have amazing customer support, and I 100% recommend you of investing on a MacBook if you want to take this content creation game seriously. This is what I did, and also they can be coupled with amazing editing softwares. But if you don't own a MacBook and you already have a PC, go ahead and you can definitely edit on a PC. You can upgrade those machines, and they're also amazing. In general, PCs, you know, as we all know, have increased computing power. They are, okay, it is a luxury. You can upgrade them, so this is a luxury, the fact that you can upgrade them and make them more powerful and more powerful. They're a bit more complex than Macs. They're not that user-friendly. Also, we have the issue with viruses, so perhaps when you're trying to download something, you might have a virus, and they're not mobile. Note that I don't have a laptop in here because I wouldn't suggest you to edit on a Windows laptop. Okay, if the laptop is very good or it has amazing processing power, then okay, you can go ahead and edit from a Windows laptop. But in general, as a rule of thumb, I would either edit from a MacBook or a PC. Personally, I have edited from both a MacBook and a PC with two completely different post-production softwares, and in my opinion, it is better to use a MacBook, but this is open for preference. If you decide that your niche doesn't require you to travel that much, and you have a set up studio space in which you don't travel and you want just to be in your place and create videos, then you can totally go ahead and invest on a PC and upgrade it and make it fancy and very powerful, and it will surpass the computing power of a Mac. Now, if your niche requires you to travel around and you need to be outdoors and from this location to that location, then buy a Mac. It will get the job done perfectly. And you can also link Macs with displays and make, your image view bigger. So this is also a huge plus. Now, obviously, you can also edit videos from your phone. Phones also have post-production editing softwares. They're completely free. Usually, if you're having an iPhone, you can edit in iMovie, which is completely free. Obviously, you're not going to have much creative freedom when you're editing from, but the fact that phones are completely free is very, very interesting. The fact that you can actually, start with content creation, see if you like content creation, start with your phone. Okay, it is a free camera option, it is a free editing option. So I would definitely encourage you, if you are not certain in which niche you want to follow, and if you don't know if content creation is you, just download an editing software from your phone and slightly tweak the videos from there. It is very simple, very basic, completely doable, and 100% better than just pumping out content that is not edited. Just adding some basic titles with a post-production editing software can make very, very, very increased quality of videos. So those were post-production operating systems. Now let's move into the different editing softwares. As we said, if you're using a PC, the best editing software that you can choose is Premiere Pro. So if you decide that you want to use a PC to edit your content, go ahead and purchase Premiere Pro or download it for free. I don't know, but use Premiere Pro for your editing. If you're using a MacBook, go ahead and actually buy or download for free, I don't know, Final Cut Pro. This is the best editing software. It's called Final Cut Pro, and it is the best editing software for Mac. This is what I use to edit my videos. In addition to that, if you're using your phone, if you have an iPhone, you can use iMovie, and if you have an Android phone, you just can download free editing software from the internet. So these again are the three best options for editing softwares. Now let's move to external storage, and you're gonna need external storage, which is gonna be again completely different from the external storage you're gonna need in your phone. So phones, SD cards is one thing, and camera SD cards, and external storage for your PC, for your Mac, for your phone if you're using it as an editing device is one completely different thing. I don't want you to get this, I want you to really realize that those are two completely different things, and we don't store permanently footage on our phones or our cameras. We just shoot footage with our cameras and our phones, and we store them into our external hard drives. I recently bought a 10 terabyte external hard drive because again, I just want my videos to be safe, my movies to be safe, and continue to shoot with my cameras. Now, if you have a PC and a Mac, again, an external storage is absolutely essential. Buy an external storage which is more than 500 megabytes, and I think that 2 terabyte external storage would be absolutely amazing. I know some great companies that produce external storage devices. Anker produces extremely well built and robust external storage devices, as well as LaCie, which is my external storage device of preference. So again, invest on external storage, pair it with your PC and Mac, and you don't need to be afraid if you lose an SD card, for example, or if your camera gets stolen, damaged, anything. You can have your movies on an external storage resting on your place. Moving on, okay, we obviously have SD cards and cloud. You can store your movies and store your files on smaller SD cards or on the cloud, but you're going to be very limited with space, right? So again, don't get confused. I am referring to external storage to store your movies right now. Obviously, you can also store your movies on external micro SD cards or mini SD cards, but still, it is better to invest on external storage. If you don't want to carry, a 2 terabyte external storage hard drive with you everywhere you go, you could invest even more to cloud storage and store all of your movies on the cloud. This will also add one more layer of security. It is also going to be more expensive. So these are the different, in general, storage options that you have. We analyze them all so you can go ahead and make your choice when it comes to your preferences and your niche and your style of content creation. So this concludes our 2-segment lessons when it comes to gear. We analyzed pretty much everything when it comes to cameras, lights, stabilizing in this lesson right here, stabilizing footage outdoors. We talked about tripods, we talked about gimbals, we talked about GorillaPods, different types of stabilization, the pros and the cons of each one of those gears. And then we talked about the gear that you're gonna need if you want to be also editing your videos. Note that in future lessons, we're also gonna analyze how to outsource editing and where to find and how to pay someone to edit your content with you, and how this will free you up a massive amount of time and will make your life as a content creation way easier. When it comes to editing, remember, you need an operating system. This could be a PC or a Mac. You need a post-production editing software. This could be Final Cut Pro or Premiere Pro. And finally, you need external storage to store all of your movies. So thank you very much for sticking up until the end of this lesson, and I'm going to see you in the next one.